Okay. Oh, we're already live. All right. What's up, YouTube? This is Sean from Broadstar Media. You know, I can't tell when this thing goes live. Anyways, I look stupid right now, but let's do it. This is what?
We're live.
We are live. So, this is Sean from Broadstar Media. We're doing our second episode of the Super Subjective Podcast. I'm here with...
This is Jonathan Rosler, a.k.a. ZRJRO, and this is our second episode.
And we got someone else along.
What's up, everybody? My name is Nicholas, and also known as SUBGRV27.
All right, so today we're just going to be talking about video games the whole time. We're going to start with Sonic Mania. Now, to start out with, I'd like to actually display the screen and show some footage of the game as we talk about it. Sorry, it's going crazy right now, but let me get the footage on the screen. And here we go. I'm gonna mute the volume so we can talk over it, and let's say our points. I'll start. I'm really hyped up about Sonic Mania just because it's, you know, it brings these back to the classics. Plus, they add new things to it, including new things to the old levels. John, why don't you tell me what you think about, you know, Sonic Mania?
You know, Sean, I'm probably one of not many people that both own the Sega Classic console and the NES Classic, and and playing Sonic on those consoles, because I never really grew up with a Sega. And yes, there is a bit of a nostalgia in both, not just the games, but the anime, seeing this trailer. I really appreciate they're going back to the classic, kind of like how Mega Man 9 went back to the old style of the NES series. So I'm getting that kind of vibe that's going back to the Genesis style a bit. And yeah, having the Sega Classic has been really make me look forward to try this game out. You know, I've never been as nearly as big a Sonic fan as I have been a Mario fan, but I've always enjoyed anything Sonic I can get my hands on. I've always enjoyed it, especially when I played Sonic Adventure 2 Battle on the GameCube. So
yeah, that was a fun game plus a fun multiplayer experience. I'd love to actually hear what Nick has to say. I know he hasn't played video games that much, but it would be interesting to hear from the perspective of somebody who's not very experienced at games. So go on, Nick.
Kind of a non-gamer, yeah.
I play some games. I don't play a lot of games.
I call you a casual gamer.
All right, go for it, Nick.
Well, seeing from this trailer, I'm liking... Well, I like the new art style that they're going with, at least from the trailer's perspective. But in terms of video games, I guess I do like the idea that they are bringing back the classic Sonic games and kind of giving them like a more modern type of appearance.
Yeah, I agree. You know, because the seeing it in this aesthetic. This is not the first time in the last few years Sega's done this, because remember, I actually own Sonic Generations, which you got as a gift for me, Nick, and I really appreciate that because that was a fun game. So I feel like Sega is heavily relying on nostalgia nowadays, to kind of get, the older fans back into it. That's what it seems like to me anyway. What about you, Sean?
Yeah, I actually downloaded Sonic Generations to Steam to play on the computer. Re-downloaded it recently to prepare to play Sonic Generations because I played to prepare to play Sonic Mania. I mean, because I had played Sonic Generations before, but never actually completed the game, and I'm excited to complete the game and then play Sonic Mania and just compare the two and see, just how Sega just really knows how to celebrate anniversaries now. They suck. They did a good job with Sonic Adventure 2 10 years in 2001. They did a terrible job with Sonic 06 in 2006. Okay, Sonic the Hedgehog 2006, 15 years. They did an amazing job with Sonic Generations. That was a 20-year anniversary. And now with Sonic Mania, I think they're actually kicking ass again for the 25-year anniversary. So other than Sonic 06, they've been really good at celebrating their character every 5 to 10 years, and they're doing an amazing job. And I also want to mention Christian Whitehead, who is a humongous fan of the Sonic franchise. He created improved versions of Sonic games that could play on phones, and Sega treated him wonderfully by actually making him the head designer of Sonic Mania, basically giving this longtime fan his dream job. What do you guys think about that?
It sounds like he's the Sega version of Satoshi Iwata, the late great Satoshi Iwata, who became the first non Ishigori family member to run Nintendo. So he like both people sound like they were they have people like put a lot of eggs in their basket to these people, and then because they've been doing such a great job innovating their respective company, I think it's great that like to get a big break like that, because usually they prefer somebody homegrown or a bloodline to be in that high position. But the fact, what's the guy's name again?
His name is Christian Whitehead.
Christian Whitehead, yeah. Whitehead is shaping up to be the Iwata of Sega, so that would be a huge step up from what he's been doing. And I hope him the best, and I hope for more great things from Sega. And this new Sonic Mania game looks great. If I ever get the Switch, I want to buy it.
All right, tell us what you think, Nick.
About the revamp, or about
Sonic Mania? That would be Sonic Mania, and also Sega's treatment of a hardcore fan that actually, improves some of their games without their permission necessarily.
Well, let me think. Well, to see that a fan would go so far as to like make a new, improved, classic Sonic game, that takes a lot of, shall I say, maybe that takes a lot of guts, especially for a company like Sega that's been, I don't know if they've been struggling to keep themselves up in the game world because of such like game systems of Nintendo, Xbox, PlayStation, and maybe this is Sega's chance to like get back on top, or maybe get somewhere like within the ranks.
You had something.
What did you say?
You had something to say, John?
Yeah. I'm honestly, when I get a Switch, that's gonna be one of the games I will buy for it for sure. It's download only, so I don't have to buy one of those mini cartridges, which I'm not a huge fan of. But I'm really glad Sega's had such a great relationship with Nintendo all these years, and it looks like the Nintendo Sega relationship is going to be around for a long time, and hopefully there won't be a fallout of any kind, so we can get, because otherwise there's a good chance we may not get another great Sonic game, even with Whitehead in charge.
Okay, well, as for Nick, as for Sega, yes, actually they have been struggling over the years. A couple years ago, Sega was actually really like this close to going out of business. What they had to do was they had to shut down the Sega of America office and just focus on their Japanese office to actually stay afloat, because they were struggling. And it's obvious why they were struggling. They don't have many other, series that people really follow. I mean, Golden Axe hasn't been popular for like 20 years. Same with many other Sega series that were around in Sega systems. The only thing they've been able to maintain is Sonic. And Sonic, a couple years ago, had his worst ever game, Sonic Boom Rise of the Lyric, and that definitely put them on a terrible path. But it's obvious they learned from their mistakes, as they now have Sonic Mania, and they rewarded a hardcore fan, putting him in charge of the game.
And I want to mention real quick, the anime sucked, from what I've heard.
Whoa, hold on. Whoa. Which anime series?
Sonic Boom.
You mean the 3D one?
I think so. The one where he has a scarf.
You mean the one that kind of looks like an out-of-dated version of the Donkey Kong Country cartoon?
Yeah.
Not that I didn't. Not that I'll say that I didn't like that show. I only saw a few episodes, and the animation for it was like, I don't know, subpar.
I never thought of it as like the out of date Donkey Kong Country show. I was like,
I remember that show.
That's an interesting one.
It was an actual show. People have reviewed it for a long time.
Yeah, I remember that show. I saw it. I saw a couple episodes back in the 90s when it was relevant. I remember.
Yeah, well, 3D computer-generated cartoons were new at that point, like, Reboot and probably, I don't know, maybe a form of Transformers.
Beast Wars.
There you go.
Yeah, Beast Wars. All right, well, now that I mentioned Sega's praise for one of their biggest fans, rewarding him by allowing him to be the main guy in charge of Sonic Mania, I want to talk about something that it's not really news anymore, but it kind of just leads up to this: Nintendo's treatments of their fans. Every time you upload a video that has Nintendo footage, there's always a copyright infringement claim on your video. You have to join that freaking stupid Nintendo Creators Program to make money off those videos at all, and they take a larger chunk out of those videos than partner programs like Broadband TV or Machinima would on your other videos. Not to mention, a hardcore fan of the Metroid series made an awesome remake of Metroid 2 Return of Samus, which came out for Game Boy in 1991, and being that it was 20 years later, you had to remake it because the game hasn't aged all that well. And fans love that remake, but because Nintendo doesn't really care that the fan loved the game so much and only cared that they wanted to protect their property, they punished him and forced him to take down the game. I mean, I know it's in their right to do it, but I mean, why is it Nintendo seems to be the only game company out there that doesn't see it as free advertising?
First of all, why don't you show us a sample of that fan-made video?
Are you referring to the Metroid game that you mentioned?
Yeah, that one.
I haven't actually really looked for it, to be honest. I'll look for it. Why don't you guys talk amongst yourselves while I look for it? I'll make sure to switch screens and stuff, but I'll look for it while you guys talk.
We'll carry on with the topic. So, John, what do you think about that?
Well, it's nothing new, really. I mean, Nintendo has been very on the rocks up until prior to the release of the Switch. The Wii U has not been doing great in sales. The games were great, but there was it was very polarizing amongst audiences when it came out. Although I do still own the Wii U, I can get what they're talking about. There is some frustrated manner on it. Yeah, not even just a copyright thing. I mean, just right now, Nintendo just seems to have this biggest issue with supply and demand. Like when we were with the Amiibos, with the GameCube adapter for the Wii U, GameCube controller adapter, and then now you got both the NES and SNES Classic having an issue with supply and demand. Even though Nintendo said there'd be a lot more in stock this time, there's still pre-sales sold out. I don't know what to say. I mean, honestly, I only wanted to get the system so I could play Star Fox 2. I'm sure I could get an emulator on it, but it's not the same. I mean, that's really my big motivation for getting that console.
Okay, I just saw a sample of the what you mentioned. Of what you mentioned, Sean.
I only showed it briefly because of how Nintendo is about about copyrighting their stuff. I'm pretty sure if I showed it for too long, that there would be a copyright infringement claim on this video as soon as it's done streaming. So I decided to only show a brief clip of it.
What about like a picture?
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely show a picture, but I mean, we just showed footage. It's okay. I mean, I kind of want to go on to what John was talking about with the lack of supply for Nintendo products. They've been doing this for way too long, and I mean, I've heard some defenders say, "Oh, well, it costs more money to keep manufacturing these products." Yeah, well, why is there never a shortage of PlayStation 4, Xbox One? They seem to always be on the shelves. So I think it's a problem against Nintendo, honestly. I mean, do you guys agree, or do you think it's just Nintendo thinks it's too costly or something?
Well, here's, can I use an example? Like, okay, right now Disney's like one of the biggest money making companies on the planet. They could probably buy Fox Studio and Sony so they could get the rights to X-Men, Spider-Man back. But that's like, that just means that's just money they don't need to spend. And I think that's probably Nintendo's philosophy too. Like, I think they think it's money they don't need to spend, because if they make a bad investment, because why don't we have the Szechuan sauce McDonald's right now? Because they don't know if the supply will meet demand, and they don't want to risk losing money. Even if Nintendo is one of the biggest powerhouses, and McDonald's one of the biggest powerhouses, and Disney one of the biggest powerhouses in the world, and makes buttloads of money, they have made bad investments in the past, and they have lost money before. So and that, on one side of the story, I can understand that, but on the other side of the story, evidently these things are selling like hotcakes. People made it virtually impossible to find an NES Classic, like in nearly every retail store. When you do, scalpers pay, like, you get the lowest I've seen. I had to pay for mine was like $150, and that's like the lowest I could get. It was used. So and right now they're going for as low as $250 for the SNES Classic. SNES Classic, the SNES Classic, you've got to pay $250 for it, unless you can find it or camp out or pre-order in like a rural town. It's ridiculous, because this turns off your fans and you lose fans. If it wasn't for even the Switch had a problem with supply and demand for a while too. It still does, I think.
Yeah, I fully agree with you on that, John. It's Nintendo's been having some really major issues with this. I don't know. I think one theory I've heard is that Nintendo is just kind of fearful because of how poorly the Wii U did, because they overstocked the Wii U. But I mean, then again, it was overstocked because they failed to advertise it enough, and people just didn't really buy it. So that's probably the main issue. Beside that, it's Nintendo needs to really be better at supplying for their customers. Here, give me a sec, guys. Go ahead, Nick.
Well, first, John, thanks for that shout out to Rick and Morty there about the McDonald's bit.
Yeah, I mean, somebody actually joked to me that it came back, but it was actually the Mac sauce, which I did try, and that's pretty good. But I digress.
First of all, John, that was not just Mac sauce. That was Mac Sriracha sauce.
Okay, we're digressing. I like the retail price of $80. I think that's a fair price. I mean, the NES was like $60. There's only 60 games. I mean, technically, you could add more games on there if you hack it. If you RAM hack it, you can add more. Like, somebody added as much as like 200 games in separate files for the NES Classic. I have no doubt in my mind that the SNES Classic will have the same fate. I'm not upset about Star Fox 2. Possibly never playing it, but I'm sure I will. I'm sure I'll come across somebody who owns the Classic if I can't get it. But I think it just shows Nintendo's lack of planning. I think there's a lack of planning on Nintendo's part, because it always seems like they're always behind the times, and they struggle to catch up. Because even aspects of the Switch feel like Kinect, but it's still fun. It's still a fun system, and it's a great concept.
Yeah, well, I never tried this. I never tried the Switch, or at least I haven't yet.
I played the Switch at my brother's house and he just got it recently. It's a pretty solid game. Honestly, though, like so far, I haven't played any games that would make me think I could play this on the Wii U, except maybe Arms. But other than that, um, uh, yeah, I really hope Nintendo gets better at this because they're gonna alienate their fans if they keep doing crap like this. So they really I mean, we're not the first people that said this, and we're definitely not gonna be the last.
Well,
Yeah, sorry about the delay, guys. Anyways, so that was Nintendo. I missed everything you guys said because I had to do something. But anyway,
we're just talking about price. We're just talking about pricing.
Pricing, and Nintendo has to stop this crap of lack of supplies or not enough supplies. They're going to alienate their fans if they keep doing it.
Well, that's their own funeral, I guess.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. They have been doing this for way too long. They really have. I mean, I've even heard that they've had issues with this back in the N64 era, although I don't remember that because I had one. And a lot of people I knew had one. But, they've just seemed to have always had this issue of, especially recently, of having enough supply for their customers' demands. And it's just, people want to buy your product. Put more on the shelves. You're going to make more than you spend to put them there, so put more on the shelves. All you're doing is opening up a black market for just scalpers to just make way more money off the items than they should. People who don't even care about the item, about the game or the console, are buying it in bulk just to sell it for a rip-off price online, and it's just wrong. If Nintendo would just supply more, this would never be an issue.
I agree.
Well, me being a guy that's kind of into that's for PlayStation type of games, with those type of games, you get a lot more like variety. You can play any kind of game on those type of consoles, but for like Nintendo, you can only play their brand. Not that I'm saying that's a bad thing. I mean, I kind of am a guy that would go for like Splatoon, but I like to at least play like a round of Overwatch.
Well, that's a good point because Nintendo has issues with their third-party developers. They've been doing this since they stuck with cartridges for the N64. That Square left them for PlayStation, and many other companies left them because Nintendo was always was not being appealing for the third parties.
Yeah, and speaking of Nintendo, I got a little something here. I don't know if you can see that.
That is.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
This came in a McDonald's Happy Meal that I purchased.
It's a me, Mario.
It's supposed to be, Star Mario. Unfortunately, the bulb can now only go to green and red, sadly, because it's kind of burnt out. But, that was like a promotion they did for a while back, and now it's just well. But anyway, on to the next topic.
Yes, so we've been talking a lot about Sega and Nintendo. Now we're going to the PC gamer industry. Now, I know you guys aren't really in familiar territory with this one, as you don't really play real-time strategy games, but I mean, but as it would be interesting to get an outsider's point of view. I'll start with my own point of view, and I'll actually display what's on my computer screen to let people get a chance to see what I'm referring to in just a sec.
Okay.
So, first I'm going to show footage from StarCraft 2, and then, first I'm going to show footage from StarCraft Remastered, and then I'm going to show footage from StarCraft 2 to explain why, if you're trying to get into the RTS genre, you'd be better off playing StarCraft 2. Better controls, the glitches aren't there, so on. And I'll just show on screen right now, just a sec. Okay. So in this here, everybody who's played everybody who's played StarCraft, the original, knows how incredibly stupid the Dragoons are. Let me go back just to show it again. They're always running back and forth because you tell them to go somewhere, and then they just don't know how to get there for some reason, even though there's a clear open gap down there. And you can only select up to 12 units at a time, which is a big problem if you play as, like, the Zerg, for example, who are meant to swarm with huge numbers. Now, briefly, I'm just going to show you something on... I actually have StarCraft 2 running right now just to show an example of how much easier it is to control in this game, and why, to be honest, I'm a little disappointed with StarCraft Remastered. Let me turn down the volume, though. Okay. So, easier to move. You just have to tab to switch between them. You could easily switch their moves. It's a lot easier to control in this game than in StarCraft Remastered, which is disappointing to me by a lot. Honestly, if you're going to call it StarCraft Remastered, it shouldn't just be a high-definition upgrade with an added matchmaking system, and that's basically all they changed. They didn't improve any of the control issues, like only being able to select 12 units at a time, which is stupid, and the stupid AI that keeps not going where you tell them to go because they somehow don't know how to fit between gaps. I know some people seem to think that the game is going to be great just because it is based off of the ever so popular original StarCraft, but it's just an HD remaster. That's all it is. It's an HD upgrade with a matchmaking system. No improvements to controls or fixing of glitches. As outsiders, what would you guys think? Who wants to go first?
I'll
I'll go to you.
All right. Well, I guess I can go to me. Well, let's see. In my kind of opinion, you know, I never played like RPG games like that, like
RTS.
like StarCraft or possibly another one like maybe, I don't know, what's that other game? Kingdoms Rise. You know, one of those.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Civilization, stuff like that.
Yeah. So, but from an outsider perspective, I really don't have much to say about it except that, you know, it's just basically one of those, you know, strategy games, you know. And I've seen like a little bit here and there of how these games work. Unfortunately, the footage that I saw was like of gamers, well, pretty much raging out that their bases were lost and you know, their characters dying, you know, something that they might smash their computer screens over. But that's most I can get out of it. What about you, John?
I've played StarCraft a number of years ago. I played like one session of it, where, you know, and I've also played a session of Warcraft too. And I've seen clips online of, you know, StarCraft 2 and things like that. And I could say, you know, from an outsider's perspective, if I were somebody to get into like these types of gameplays, I think StarCraft Remastered is a good way to get new fans, and as well as continuing the trend with old fans, because I think casuals like myself who see all these expansion packs of all these different versions of StarCraft 2 will just get confused as hell. That's the same reason I couldn't really get into Gundam, because there's so many different series of Gundam to watch. So I think, in a way, like based on what I've seen, this game looks great, and I think it'll have a bit of nostalgia for the older players, and it'll be a great way to introduce new players because it feels like a brand new start, fresh take, and we'll be ready to go to play.
Well, you definitely caught me off guard with that one. That was actually something I didn't even think about when it came to StarCraft 2. I admit, having to buy 3 games to play the entire story of all of StarCraft 2 is a pain because you have to buy 3 games. So, okay. Somebody who wants to play, just start off with one game, I guess you're right. If you just do StarCraft Remastered, it's all of the original StarCraft in its purest form. Just HD with ladder. Just being that I've been playing the games for a long time, I just am a little annoyed that when I go back between StarCraft 1 and 2, I'm like, okay, I love how in StarCraft 2 I can command as many forces as I want. I can press the tab key to switch between which units I want to use abilities for. It's just a lot easier to control. Plus, they don't glitch out and not know where they're going because of a gap. But your point about having to having to pay for multiple games, geez, that just threw me off guard. I totally forgot about that until just now. So, from my point of view, I personally believe that if you want to get into the genre, I believe you should start with StarCraft 2. The problem is, yes, you could be confused about it. So if you are curious about it, I'll tell you the order of the games. Just start with StarCraft 2 Wings of Liberty. That's the first game. You'll learn the game just by playing that. You don't really have to play the other 2 expansions just to play the game. The other 2 expansions, which are in this order, Heart of the Swarm and then Legacy of the Void, are really just to explore more of the story. And they do add some more units to play with in battles. But being that they add more stuff, I honestly feel like there's a little more imbalances in the expansions compared to just Wings of Liberty. So if you're trying to get into the genre, I personally believe Wings of Liberty. But it looks like you got a good point there, John, about how you can just stick to one game with Remastered. How about you continue, John?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like it's kind of like with a link to the past, because if you look at the timeline of the first 2 Legend of Zelda games, because like Link's Adventure is, or Adventure Link is like takes place directly after the first Zelda game. Then A Link to the Past is technically chronologically where the game starts, where the series starts. But it sounds like StarCraft 2 Wings of Liberty is chronologically the first game, even though it's the sequel. So it's a sequel/prequel to the original.
I'm not sure where you got that from. StarCraft 2 is the sequel to StarCraft. It wasn't a prequel or anything. My suggestion was it'd be a better place for new gamers to start because of the improved controls and the lack of glitching. Yeah.
Okay. And I guess I'll give my final thoughts here, because again, I'm just a casual player. I've only played like 1 session of Warcraft, 1 session of StarCraft, and only seen like trailers of StarCraft 2. I do think because like I said, you don't like, you could watch something like The Dark Knight and not have to watch Batman Begins. There are sequels that you don't have to necessarily go back and watch the first one. So, but I think if people do get confused with I think or a great way to introduce people to the game, gotta get like some of the fundamental elements of it. I think I'll go with the first game. But like in terms of but like you said, like more things to do, like there's you'll have more command. I mean if that's the best way to do it, like if that was me, if that was like I want the easiest controls as possible, because here's an example. Like there's this game I played that I didn't really really understand how it worked a little bit. And that was the Luigi's Mansion. I got lost in the Haunted Mansion, but then I played the DS version, and it actually had more simplistic like storytelling, and I was able to follow the game, and that really helped me go back and play the GameCube game. So I think something like StarCraft 2 could also, I mean, it could be a gateway drug to the original StarCraft as well, or the remastered one. I don't know what the difference is between the original and the remastered, but
okay, you wanted something to add, Nick?
Oh, well, I just wanted to know if that's all we're going to talk about StarCraft.
Well, we basically talked about what we were planning on talking about. We mentioned Sonic Mania. I guess we could talk about it a little bit longer, but I think we went over all we needed about that. What do you guys? Okay, I have one more thing we could talk about. We could glance over it just a little bit.
For you,
now that I mentioned Sonic, you guys heard of Sonic Forces, right?
I have. I saw a preview of it.
Not me.
Okay, well, Sonic Forces is Sega's is Sega's official 25th anniversary, as they are the ones behind this game, and it has classic Sonic and modern Sonic, much like Sonic Generations. So I'm starting to think that now Sega is. Do you believe that because of the direction Sega's taken, embracing a fan who loved their games and put him in charge of Sonic Mania, and then actually making another 25th anniversary game of their own that is resemblant of a 20th anniversary game, Sonic Generations? Do you think Sega might be making a turnaround? I personally think they could be, but I don't think they'll be joining the console market because it's too risky with Nintendo, Microsoft, and Sony. What do you guys think? Let's start with John.
Honestly, we should just see what happens. I mean, stranger things have happened. Like, there's a new device that you can plug in your smartphone to play it like a Game Boy. So, but I mean, Sega doesn't really have to come out with a new device, because now that you can download their games on a phone. So they might just get into the PC world. Sega just might enter the PC world if they can add something new to it.
And what do you think, Nick?
Let's see. Well, whatever works, I guess. I suppose.
Go ahead, John.
Speaking of, I have been playing quite a bit of Pokemon Go, and I have about 7.
What's the problem, Nick?
Do we have to talk about that?
Yes, because it's related to Nintendo.
So in that case, I'm gonna take a short break. See you guys in a bit.
Oh man. Oh man. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god.
Wow. Break me off a piece of that Kit Kat bar, huh, Nick?
Hey, I told you I needed a break.
You so funny, Nick. You so funny.
All right, continue about Pokemon Go, John.
All right, I dropped my phone there for a second. I've been catching. So I have 2 Articuno, I have 2 Moltres, I have 2 Zapdos, and I have 1 Lugia. And now the biggest thing right now in that game is it's the IVs, the perfect IVs. That's the big thing in the game right now. Everyone's trying to get a perfect IV of these birds, because that means they'll do great in battles. They'll do like a lot of critical hits.
Man, you got me really jealous about these legendaries. I'd love to have a freaking Zapdos. You got freaking 2 of them, but it's completely my own fault for taking a whole year off from playing the game and coming back and only being level 10 right now. What the heck is wrong with me?
I don't know. That's a question for another day, I guess. But yeah, I recommend the people out there, there's still 1 more week left of catching legendaries. So go out there and do it.
All right, well, that finishes off our stream.
Wait, hold it.
Yeah, are you back from your break yet, Nick?
Yeah, I'm back from my break.
I see the bar still. Oh, you took your shades off. Awesome.
Yeah, now I can finally see. Oh, is that too bright?
Oh, whatever. It's live. We can't really fix it.
Let me just adjust the shade here a bit.
Okay.
Is that better?
Sure, I guess. So what is it, Nick?
Now I have a topic I want to talk about. Okay, you know what? I look too bright here. I look pale. Hold on a second.
You look Hawaiian.
There we go. That's fair.
Yeah, you do look Hawaiian. Look at that shirt.
Thank you. It's a little something from home.
But I do like that shirt.
Okay. Well, let's see. Mm, Yeah, my topic I want to talk about is a known gamer. It's also about PC, and it's about a pretty famous online gamer. You probably have heard of him, but I'm going to show you a bit of what he does. Hold on a second. Let me find him. Here he is. Now let me just look here. Have you heard of this guy?
Yeah.
I'm sure that you have heard of him. Well, as you can see, he well, let's see if we can find his about page. Here it is.
I'll be right back, you guys. I got a bathroom.
It's okay. We'll wrap this up in a little bit. What do you want to talk about in relation to him?
It's about the games he does play and what he does with them.
Okay.
And well, according to his subscriptions and a lot of his videos, he does reaction videos and.
Nick?
Well, I'd say let's wrap this up. We could check out his channel at some point. I do want to briefly mention now that we mentioned PC. Go ahead.
To be continued for with Nick's topic.
Yes, we could talk about that some other time. John and I had talked about an idea of talking about doing a stream about just talking about YouTubers. But anyways, to wrap this up, in PC, I would like to point out I'm a little distraught that Sonic Mania is delayed on the PC, but it makes me look even more forward to it when it finally comes out for the PC. So I'll be playing it August 30th when it comes out on the PC. I'll be having some footage uploaded to my gaming channel, Slide 8 Fry, so go ahead and check that out when you can. And thank you so much for watching. We'll continue to improve our live streams as we get more practice going. And I'll see you out. Thank you so much.
Bye.
All right, then. Bye.